Welcome to episode 3 of Calm Before the Roar. I'm Chad Mazigian with my co-host Zach the Boss Man Barrick. It's a lovely Sunday once again. Third time into this. What do you think? How you feeling?
I said it last week. I'm just happy to have another episode. I'm surprised we're sticking it out this long.
That's right. So, we got some exciting news actually shortly after our second episode. We learned that Lions, are going to be on Hard Knocks this summer, late in the summer, to start the season. And we also got news that the NFL Draft is coming to Detroit in 2024. Big week, Monday news day for the Lions.
Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. We were just talking about it. Remember when there was talk about the Lions being on Hard Knocks during the Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn era, and we were just very against it, super hoping we weren't, didn't want our strategy out there. All of a sudden it gets announced that Dan Campbell and the Lions are Hard Knocks, and we're pumped about it. Just more Dan Campbell. How can you not want that?
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I mean, Dan Campbell kind of took the media by storm. He went from a coaching candidate last year that he wasn't really on anyone's radar about the Lions. So when the Lions hired him, everyone's kind of like, well, does this really make sense? But I think it won the hearts of a lot of people pretty quickly, especially the people here in Detroit. And his press conferences are always entertaining, whether it's after a win, loss, or just a practice on Wednesday during OTAs. So that'll be exciting. And then the draft in 2024, that'll be a pretty exciting event, I'd imagine. They said it'll take place in Campus Martius downtown, but they're going to have events all throughout the city, some at Ford Field, some at LCA. So I'm guessing I'll probably go down there for at least day one of the draft. I'm pretty excited to see how these plans shake out.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really hope that I'm not working during that time, that's for sure, but I got to imagine I will be. But yeah, no, it's exciting stuff, and, I'm pretty excited to have the draft. We won't have the first pick that year, that's for sure. I can promise you that, but, we'll be drafted in the late 20s, which will make sense, with
right along the timeline with Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe we'll definitely be drafted at 32. Maybe it's our pick, maybe it's the Rams, you never know, but it'll be nice to, be down there and experience. I remember when they had the Super Bowl, the NFL experience and all that. It was very cool. It was one of my best memories as a kid with my dad. So
nice.
Looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, and I was joking around with a couple people. I said it's going to work out perfectly because it's either going to timeline where after year 3 Dan Campbell's bombed and we have a really early pick, which is exciting for a draft, or like you said, it's going to be on the timeline that we all hope is we're either right on the cusp of the playoffs or made the playoffs going into, the end 2023, and we'll have a late pick and be really ready to pounce to start 2024.
Well, it might be around the right time where, I don't think so because Matt Stafford, is Matt Stafford, but it's right around the right time where maybe the Rams collapse and we have a high draft pick from them.
Yeah, that's true, So, why don't we get into, we're going to have a defensive side of the ball heavy topic for the Lions this week. Where does the Lions defense stand right now, given what they've done in free agency? Guys are going to get back from injury like Romeo Okwara. Where does it stand right now going into the draft, and maybe what's the most glaring need they have, in your opinion?
Well, I woke up pretty late today, but I still made sure I got my glass of Kool-Aid in before I got here. I think that I'm obviously more optimistic than some. I think that this defense has a lot more talent and a lot more skill set than a lot of people realize. I think you basically, we talk about injuries, they're not excuses, blah, 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 but we're not talking about the roster on defense from top all the way to the fourth string. When we talk about it, we're looking at those guys that are going to be playing and that we hope stay healthy and play all year. And those guys are pretty talented guys. And, everybody's dismissing Okudah. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people. I think it goes back to what I've been saying, and that's Aaron Glenn needs a lifetime contract because I do think that he's probably the best defensive coordinator in football, or at least one of the guys who knows how to get the talent out of his players the most, just by putting him in the right spots. I think that, Okudah's one of those guys, that I think is going to really make some strides this year, really surprise a lot of people. I think the Lions are going to surprise people with their pass rush. And, we'll get into the draft, and, obviously we're going to have to talk about how many people were there to see Thibodeau's on his pro day. So, obviously, you had an elite pass rusher like that. It's easy to have a better pass rusher. But even without that guy, you got both of the I'm drawing a blank.
Juarez.
Juarez, yeah. Romeo is back. He's going to be healthy. and he's gonna be hungry. I mean, he just got his contract. He got hurt, and he's a Lions guy. You got both Aquaras that are gonna be really lethal on the pass rush side of things. I think a lot of people don't realize how big of a deal adding Jared Davis is gonna be, at least as far as pass rush goes. I think he brings a size, strength, speed combination that you can't get out of a lot of different players. I think our pass rush is going to be much better. I think the secondary, you got so many guys that got experience in the secondary that never would have got experience because of injuries and all other things. And, you got guys like Jacobs who came out of nowhere, and, now all of a sudden I'd be pretty happy if he's on the starting D. And, all that's great. But I will be fair. Where I am concerned is the linebackers in the middle. I don't worry about the D-line because I think Aleem McNeil has made huge strides as a rookie to shut stuff down in the middle. He's only going to be better. I think that I think Brockers is going to play more of a role this year. I think a Levi Awarzier, I think he's going to make a significant jump. I think he was expected to be way too much as a rookie. Still showed flashes, but I think you'll see some good things this year. And I think that the linebackers is what concerns me. I think Derek Barnes is going to make a huge jump. I think Alzoni is going to be solid. I think he'll be a good leader. I worry because if I look at this defense, I see at least one playmaker on every level, but I don't know that there's a playmaker on the linebacker level. I think Derek Barnes is capable, but I don't know if he is that guy, and that's what scares me. I think you got playmakers, game changers on every level except in the middle, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah, and Derek Barnes being developmental fourth-round pick, he may take a year or two before he can really step into a role of, an every down linebacker or be that elite playmaker you need. I think the biggest thing you brought up was the pass rush. I do think the pass rush is probably in better shape than many think. I think Romeo Okwara is a big reason for that. I think Julian Okwara is a great rotational guy to get in there. Jared Davis, you mentioned, he can pass rush from up the middle or from the edge, so that makes him very versatile in the defense, and you can use him to attack or rush the quarterback in many different ways. My biggest concern is safety. I love that they brought Tracy Walker back. I thought it was a great contract. I think Tracy Walker is a very good player. It's the safety next to him. I'm guessing it'll be addressed in the draft. There's still some free agents out there that I think could be an acceptable, kind of start the season as a starter, then, kind of transition between that and hopefully a high rookie pick. Guys like Deshaun Elliott from Baltimore. He was solid for a couple of years in Baltimore. I like him a lot. P.J. Williams is one I had in mind, but he actually just re-signed with the Saints yesterday. He'd played under Glenn and been with Campbell in New Orleans a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think really adding a guy like Thibodeau, a Walker, one of these top edge rushers at the top of the draft, to this defense could actually make pass rushing more of a strength to this defense than a weakness, because Romeo Okwara is going to come back hungry, like you said. People forget how good he is. You re-signed Charles Harris. He had 7.5 sacks last year and broke out on the scene. Hopefully another year in the system, he's even better.
Well, and I think that's the key. I think, like you said, a strength. I honestly think it is our strength. I think it will be our strength. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you add the right pieces, you're going to make it better. But like you said, Charles Harris, Romeo Okwara, it goes back to, and we talked about it a little bit last week with the Hutchinson-Thibodeau debate. Mm-hmm. You have a guy on the other side. If you have two people you have to worry about, one on each side, it changes how you protect the quarterback.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I think Charles Harris made a lot of plays, and I think at the end of the year he was that guy that they rolled protections for, but he didn't have anybody on the other side they were worried about. Right. So I'm excited for them to have that chance. And like I said, with Jared Davis, you add depth, you add options. You can always scheme up something wild to get a linebacker to blitz. And I said it last week, and I mean it, a Jared Davis, Derek Barnes, double-A gap blitz is not going to be a friendly thing for any guard or center to face.
Yeah, both very quick, athletic linebackers who had success rushing the passer.
With so much strength.
And I think you really have good depth there, too. Let's say you draft Thibodeau. Then you got Romeo and Thibodeau probably starting on each edge. And then you got Julian Okwara and Charles Harris as the guys that rotate in. Or you can put 3 or 4 of them on the field, even depending on situations. And then you got Davis, whose only strength that we've seen so far clearly in the NFL is pass rushing. Hopefully he can develop other parts of his game.
But I think also you get that. You get your rotational guys like that, but you also, I mean, maybe a 3-4 or Lee McNeil's a true nose guard.
Exactly.
You get Aquara and Thibodeau's a lot stronger than people think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Charles Harris and you have Julian Aquara in the 9 technique. I mean, I think they're both athletic enough to play that position. I know Julian Aquara is.
Yeah, and Brad Holmes has preached versatility. He values that immensely. Levy can play inside. He can play the edge. As you mentioned, Charles can play on the edge or stand up. Same with Thibodeau. So I think what you're going to see, especially in this front seven, and even the secondary, but especially the front seven, you're going to see them acquiring players that can play edge, inside, that can play edge and linebacker, that can play inside backer, outside backer, and then even you saw it last year with Will Harris, guys who can play safety and corner, or play safety and line up in the nickel. A lot of versatility on this defense, and I think that what makes them so dangerous, because it would be very hard for offensive coaches game plan against the Lions to zero in and say, what's this guy going to do this week, because he's played safety in week 1, he played primarily nickel in week 2, and he was bouncing between corner and safety in week 3, or same, goes with guys on the edge or inside. It makes it hard to game plan against a defense that has so many players that can play so many different roles.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm excited. I don't think this defense is nearly as bad as people think. And, we were talking about defense today, but that, goes back to the offensive side of the ball. I don't think the offense is nearly as bad as people might think. I think we're a lot closer than people realize, and you just wait till after this draft and we can really get excited about it. I think the Lions are going to be making a big splash this year. The more I look at it, the more we talk about it, the more excited I get.
Well, to end the note on that, and like you said, Aaron Glenn, he got the most out of the least kind of last year, and that's very encouraging when he has a unit that's healthy and has more talent going into it.
Well, and I think it goes a lot to proving the system works.
Right.
Defense is a lot harder to buy into. Offense, you got your X's and O's. You're not reactive. You're proactive. Defense, you're a little bit more reactive. So seeing it work, and there's a lot of egos and everything. They seem to have the right culture going forward. But if you're Akuda and you're watching a third, fourth string guy in training camp do a good job in week 16, you're obviously going to think that you're going to be in a position to be successful.
Yeah, and I do think Jeff Okudah, like you said, is going to have a bounce back year and surprise quite a few people. With that said, we can probably talk about our mock drafts and compare them a little bit, because we both were kind of defensive heavy overall when all is said and done. You want to start with a couple of your key players?
Well, I think that one, if we go with my draft, it will obviously be Super Bowl bound rather quickly. I actually did a few of them. This is the first one I did. The rule that Chad said was no trades, because we're both team trade down. So he said no trades, and that was a little hard because I really wanted to trade out of the 2 spot. I really did, and I really think they will. However, I did a few different drafts, and I did one where I took Thibodeau at 2. Every single time I did it, I just never got to this draft. I love this draft. I talked about it. We talked about it last week, and I completely convinced myself that Ekwonu is the way to go at number 2. I'm so sold on that being the answer. It's not sexy. It doesn't jump out at you. It's going to be a bunch of things that people can discount, but Ekwonu is going to set us up for success for years. If you're laying the foundation, having that would put him at the best offensive line in football. This guy's a run grader. He moves people. You get him playing guard, at right guard, Jonah Jackson at left, Ragnow in the middle. You're just going to move fucking mountains. I just don't. It's just such a sexy pick for me. Probably not for you, but I'm 100% in on it.
I won't be mad if they take offensive line. Personally, with my first pick, I went with Trayvon Walker, defensive end out of Georgia. He's a versatile guy, as we just talked about. He can stand up. He can play with his hand in the ground. Although I will say, over the last week, I have started to lean more on the Tibb train again because I think his ceiling's higher. And I think the more I've thought about it, if you're going to stay at 2, I think you got to take players with the highest ceiling. And I think Thibodeau is that guy. Whether Hutch is there or not, I do think Tibbs has the highest ceiling of any pass rusher in the draft. And I'm really starting to think that he should be the pick over Walker. But for this instance, this was back on Monday or Tuesday whenever we released these on Facebook. I went with Walker in this draft. Still wouldn't be mad with Walker as the pick.
I like Walker too. He's a game changer, but I am, as much as I wanted Kwanu, I think that's just because I talked myself into it. I've been a Tibbs guy. I mean, all year.
You've been a Tibbs loyalist since week 1 of the last season.
And I was a Tibbs loyalist before it was cool to like Hutchinson. I am anti-Hutchinson. I do think that everybody thinks that Hutchinson has a higher floor than Tibbs, and I do not think that is true. I think Hutchinson's a sexier pick for you because you can be like, oh, he's a hometown guy. Guess what? He doesn't even want to be a hometown guy. He doesn't give a fuck about the Lions. So
he's openly said he wanted to go to Houston, and he was a Patriots fan growing up, and the Lions were kind of just the Lions.
Which is a typical person from Plymouth. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, let's just like the team that's better. No, he's not a hometown guy. He's not the hero. So don't think he is. And I don't think he has the floor that Tibbs has, and I definitely don't think he's anywhere near the ceiling that Tibbs has.
Hey, if you want a guy who said he wants to play for Detroit, go draft Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown's teammate from USC.
That would be sick.
I would like that in a trade back, if we
or
could trade
32,
back
34.
If he drops that far, I don't know.
But
we'll see, though.
He won't, but that'd be nice.
He's a solid prospect, but we'll talk more about the offense.
I don't care if he sucks. I'd draft him just to keep Ma happy.
That's right.
But the truth is, with Tibbs, I do love the Tibbs pick. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's smoke and mirrors involved, though, if they're really serious about trading back at 2. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks quarterbacks, moving up to get quarterbacks and stuff like that. If we think Tibbs is that high of a ceiling, plenty of other teams do. You saw what Myles Garrett did to the Cleveland Browns defense. You've seen it elsewhere. What one guy on a pass rush can
do.
Joey
Bosa, Nick Bosa.
They change defenses. So don't think it's crazy a team would move up to pick Thibodeau.
Right. We both went safety at 32. Different safeties, but I think we both agree it's a big need this year.
I agree, and Brisker was available for mine. I would not be mad with Brisker at all. You made very good points off, I guess, Sat, but you'll say, but I like Sign. I think Sign is I think he's a Dan Campbell guy. I think he's the safety that's going to run up and he's going to punch you in the mouth and he's going to make sure that you feel it. He's going to stand over you to make sure that you know it was him. I kind of like the attitude. He's got the speed. A lot of people don't give him enough credit for his coverage ability, but he can cover. I like Sign, but I wouldn't be mad with Brisker.
Yeah, I went with Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State, a guy who accumulated 5 interceptions in his 3 years at Penn State, can really lay the wood when he comes up into the box to tackle, and plays outstanding coverage and is versatile. He can play free, he can play strong, short side of the field, long side of the field, don't matter. I like Lewis Sign a lot too. We were talking about this before we started recording. I think both safeties would be an excellent choice. The thing that concerns me a little bit more about Sign is he played behind maybe the best front 7 in college football history in Georgia. Not to take away from him, because I love what I saw every time I watched a Georgia game, and I love what I saw from Brisker every time I watched Penn State. So really it's 1A, 1B for me. And this is really the reason, like we talked about before, I'm not against Hamilton, but the safety class is deep, and you can get these guys at 32 or 34. I really like Brisker and Sign, and the gap between them and Hamilton is not much for me. So I went with Brisker, Sign.
If the price is right, though, and
Absolutely.
You can move up or you move down, I think Kyle Hamilton's probably the best guy in this draft as a football player. You don't draft football players. You draft ceiling, potential. You draft, there's so many things that a football player is that is more than just a football player. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at a football guy, a talented football player, not an athlete, I think Kyle Hamilton's probably the best football player in the
And he's outstanding, too. From the Notre Dame games I watched this past season, he was all over the field on defense.
And nobody's smarter than him on the football field.
I agree. Very
And
well
that's
thought.
something that's nice to have in a safety. I don't like it at 2, but I said to you, like you talked about with quarterbacks, if Malik Willis is your guy, draft him at 2. So while I don't like Hamilton at 2, if they think
He's
that
the guy.
Hamilton is a game changer for him, and I think he could be, then draft him at 2. You don't take a risk of somebody taking your player if he's your franchise player, but I don't think that's the case. And I as much as I would like other things too, I think we're going to be drafting Thibodeau at number 2.
And speaking of quarterbacks, that was your next pick at 34.
Yeah, I was happy. I thought it was a steal. I was like, are you kidding me? And, we talked about it because I argued your point with drafting a quarterback at 2.
With this guy.
With Sam Howell. And then he was there. I was like, shit, here we go. I think Sam Howell is going to be I want to say he's going to be the best quarterback in this draft. I am really high on Kenny Pickett as well.
Going into the season, he was the projected number 1
Yeah,
pick.
and I don't think North Carolina had the tools that these other schools had available for him.
Lost a lot of weapons after last year.
And I didn't realize Sam Howell had the speed and athleticism that he did. I really like that. With Sam Howell, he was there. I think, like I said last week, you talk about it. I think Sam Howell was like a B+ for me if we're grading him. He just happened to be available. I'm super happy with it. I didn't think he'd be there. I would not be mad if the Lions took Sam Howell at 34 at all.
Yeah, and then at 34, I took a guy I've been in love with for a long time, and that's wide receiver Christian Watson out of North Dakota State University. A guy I've been high on all year, a guy who's been shooting up draft boards since the season came to an end. This guy is 6'4", runs a 4.37 or 4.39 40. The only issue he's really had is he has a couple bad drops every now and then, but that's something you can work on. Jamar Chase was talked about as having drop issues last year, and he ended up being the best receiver in the class last year. To no surprise, everyone figured Chase was going to be good. But I think Christian Watson, in a very deep class of receivers, he's a guy that I like. He's in my top 3 of receivers in the draft, and him available at 34. It was between him and George Pickens for me in that spot, the Georgia receiver, and I had to go Watson given the ceiling and the ability he has as an athlete in this league.
Well, I think also probably the example, stats. I mean, Pickens doesn't have a whole lot. He's more of a draft because he's an athlete, draft his potential kind of guy.
Pickens has dealt with a couple major injuries in his college career, which is unfortunate. We'll see how much that impacts his draft status. I do think he can be solid if he stays healthy, obviously, but obviously health is a wild card for anyone.
But like I
really.
said, he's like that kid out of high school you give the full ride to, and you hope he meets up to it. I don't like taking that kind of guy in my second round.
Right. And kind of just to overview the rest of the draft because we get into the later rounds. Guys we had in common, we both took Hassan Haskins, running back from Michigan, and we both took Jalen Naylor out of Michigan State. I think Hassan Haskins would offer a really nice punch to swiftness, per se.
Yeah, well, I think Haskins would be essentially getting Jamal Williams for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be that power guy. You can give him a bunch of carries. You already know he's been in a role where he offsets. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. Emotionally, attitude-wise, he's already been a split the time kind of back, so he can handle that kind of role. Jalen Naylor, I think, is going to be the steal of the draft, whoever lands him. Obviously, I watched too many Michigan State football games last year. Jalen Naylor is always open. Jalen Naylor, he isn't the fastest guy in the 40, but he's always running by the safeties. Unfortunately, he just didn't have a quarterback that could throw him the ball. He did have a couple drops, but he's always open deep. I think he's one of the best deep threats in the draft if you take away the top 3 or 5 wide receiver prospects. Every mock draft I did, he's available in the 5th and 6th round. I think you draft him in the 6th round, you're stealing a wide receiver. I think he's going to be an elite potential deep threat in the NFL, and I'm ecstatic about it.
Yeah, I like Naylor a lot too, and that's one thing the Lions have desperately lacked since basically Calvin retired is that deep threat, speedy deep threat. We've had guys like Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones who can catch the ball deep, but they're very contested catches, things like that. we haven't had someone that can just blaze past people, and I think Naylor would really help that. We both targeted tight ends. You went a little earlier than I did with that with Trey McBride. He's kind of the consensus number one tight end in the draft, and you got him in the third round. I would be ecstatic with that. I went with Charlie Kohler out of Iowa State a little bit later in the draft. I think it was a fifth-round pick. Obviously, I would love McBride, so I hope yours works out.
I don't know how he landed that far, but I was happy with it. I will say, I'm going to get into Troy Anderson in a little bit, but of my draft, looking back and really evaluating the guys I picked, the coolest steal for me was actually Jeremiah Moon.
Florida, right?
Who? Yeah. Who? Jeremiah Moon is he's a big linebacker. He's I think it was 6'6". He's 250. His wingspan's a little bit longer than 6'6", and he absolutely destroyed the combine. His numbers, I forgot what the rating came out as, but it was way higher than expected. He's in the top. I think it was 374 since ranked since 1989 to 2022 or
Impressive.
whatever it is. But the guy's a freak. With me, when I think about drafting guys that are going to rush the passer, that's the kind of time where you get to look at athletes and not football players. And I think Jeremiah Moon in the late round could be a very, very nice addition to the go get the quarterback guy. Obviously, like I said, that was my looking at him. I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that could be. But Jeremiah Moon, if you see that name late, it's something to be excited about.
Yeah, and I think, late in the draft like that, I think you got him with a 7th-round pick, maybe it was a 6th round. Anyway, you're looking for guys with more of a ceiling or potential later in the draft. Guys that are projects that, hey, he might not be ready for much play time his rookie year, but hopefully by his sophomore year we can start rotating him in, and then by his third year, maybe we have something here, or we don't, and you move on. But you're looking for potential as late rounds go on, or guys that can contribute on special teams, things like that. I do like Moon as a prospect a lot. And getting into that, I think we each kind of picked our dark horse or defensive prospect to look at later in the draft. Mine is kind of projected right now between the 3rd and 4th round pick. I'm going with Taylor Cam Britt out of Nebraska. He played corner for them. Had an interception this past year, but I think what really comes into play with Britt is he is a very fast corner, ran a 4.38 at the combine. He is 5'11", 196 pounds, so a well-built corner. And really, his time in Nebraska, he had 6 interceptions 3 years. I guess he played 4 years, didn't play much his freshman year. But the 3 years he really contributed, 6 interceptions. He had 11 passes defended this past season. So really a lot of production out of what was a pretty bad Nebraska team. And when you look at a position like a cornerback that really relies on a defense to get pressure, which Nebraska was not always great. They were very inconsistent about getting pressure. Corners, as good as they are, usually can only cover for so long. The more time you give a receiver and a quarterback to get open, the offense usually comes out on top. He's a guy that impresses me. I think he could really be similar to Aware, our current cornerback, Amani. And I can't disagree with having two of those guys. Aware coming off a 6 interception season with the Lions, and a developmental guy, a guy that can probably step in as a rotational corner his rookie year, and then really project to be a solid starter moving forward in the future.
And I'm going to say it a million more times. I love Aaron Glenn. I don't care if you throw 30 cornerbacks in a room with Aaron Glenn. Eventually, he's going to teach him how to be a good NFL cornerback. That's how confident I am in Aaron Glenn.
Well, and you saw it with all the undrafted free agents this year. Jerry Jacobs had an outstanding year until he got hurt. A.J. Parker did very well as a nickel. Melifanu was a 3rd-round pick, but he really came into his own after he was out early with injury.
Well, and, Aware stepped way up.
Absolutely.
I think, people were ready to give up on him pretty early, and then all of a sudden, I think you're going to see with Okudah, he's going to show up. I think Okudah is going to be a freak this year.
And really, that was the most disappointing thing about losing Okudah, and we didn't really even know it at the time, that Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant were going to have such a positive effect on these corners on the team. We didn't realize it till probably five to 6 weeks in that, wow, these guys are actually balling above what we thought they were going to do. That was tough seeing Okuda go down because he, being the former, or being the third round pick a couple of years ago, who hasn't, has dealt with injury. Third overall pick, sorry. Who's dealt with injury and just having trouble staying on the field.
Well, and had to deal with that rocket scientist dickbag coach. So,
yes.
He didn't have a chance anyway.
Patricia didn't help anyone.
Well, you cover this guy, but also read this and that and this and that and this and that. Also, the guy's an NFL talent. Don't get beat by him.
Oh, and hey, while you're at it, let's trade Slay and Quandre Diggs away for
Because I don't like how their attitudes are.
Yeah, right.
So mine is actually, I found a gem on accident. I won't lie to you. I drafted Troy Anderson in my mock draft, and I didn't really know much about him. It looked like the best linebacker available at the time. But I did my research. So the guy's 6'4", 235, so decent size. But it gets better.
Is he an inside guy?
He's an inside guy. He made 150 tackles last year, 14 of which were for loss, 7 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. So, 2 interceptions as a linebacker, middle linebacker is pretty good. I'm happy with that. He was the FCS ADA National Defensive Player of the Year, Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, consensus unanimous All-American selection, first team obviously. But this is where it gets good. This is where it gets the best. So all that sounds amazing, right, Chad? What if I told you he ran a 4.41 40 at the combine?
That's fast as hell.
What the fuck? I should have started with this, but I just had to get to that.
Hey, you built them up.
But man, I could have did better. But he also, in his time in college, played quarterback, running back, punter for a little while, and that's when he settled in the middle linebacker. I mean, what an athletic guy. You talk about versatile. Hopefully we never need to see him play quarterback or running back.
Yeah, but you got that emergency guy.
Definitely don't want him to play punter because we got a good one of those.
Best punter in the league, in my opinion.
But the guy can do a lot of different things. And at 6'4", 235, as a middle linebacker, built to do that, 150 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 7 passes defended. It's a lot. It really is for a middle linebacker. 2 interceptions, great ball skills for a middle linebacker. But then you're going to tell me the guy can run a 4.41.
The dude sounds like an all-out just football player, athlete.
4.41, Chad.
That's incredible. And
that's ridiculous. That's not even fair.
That's someone I would definitely target.
That's like my Madden player. You know what I mean?
Well, and not only have the Lions lacked just a middle linebacker in general, the linebackers they've had over the last couple of years outside of Davis, really, and I guess the addition of Barnes, they haven't been super fast or athletic.
Well, that's the thing is, even if this guy's dog shit, at least he can run sideline to sideline really fast.
Right, see ball, get ball.
You know what I mean? Just go there, get the guy before he touches the end zone. You're faster than all of them.
And it sounds like if he doesn't work out or, is slower to get into the rotation on defense alone, it sounds like he could be an outstanding special teams player right away.
Yeah,
as he works towards becoming a guy
well, because he's
defense.
running 4.41 40, run down the field,
he's
tackle
on
that
kickoff
guy.
and punt, that's for sure.
So. Not to mention, worst comes to worst, the guy, if he's really, really dog shit and he just needs a job, you got a guy that can play scout team linebacker and scout team running back.
Right.
Maybe scout team quarterback so Blau doesn't have to.
Well, he's a guy I hadn't really known much about, but after hearing that, I think he's going to be on my radar in the next mock draft.
Yeah,
he is.
I was pretty shocked that I drafted that gem, but now that I'm doing that, obviously I know I need to be a general manager.
And I'm definitely on the roll, or of having the Lions draft at least 2 linebackers in this draft. I think even 3 I'd be happy with. They just need talent.
Listen,
and
I think if you go
position.
That's why, I talk about it. I'm going to keep talking about it. I love Aquanu at 2 because, in my eyes, Aquanu at 2 solidifies such a strength that you have, making you even stronger with that strength. And I'm going to be honest with you, we love a wide receiver, all that. But also DJ Chark is that guy. Don't forget we have him.
Oh, yeah.
So, in my opinion, if you get an Aquanu at number 2, or maybe trade back, get him at number 5, number 6, 8, whatever. Even Evan Neal, although I like Aquanu more. It allows you to not draft a single fucking offensive player the rest of the draft because you can literally just stack up on defense because if you get...
You're going to run the ball.
But you're going to run the ball, you're going to pass the ball, you're
Right.
going to do everything because you're going to have so much time to do it. And because the other thing is offensive linemen very rarely are a complete bust.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Even if he is, Tavai wasn't... Vaitai wasn't that bad. Tavai was terrible.
Yeah.
But Vaitai wasn't that bad. So that's why I love it in the first pick, going with an offensive lineman that can just step in and be dominant. Because, Kwanu, I think with our offensive line would make us the best offensive line in football. Allow Jared Goff to have plenty of time. Have these wide receivers get open. I don't think Cephas is terrible. He can get a shot again. For whatever reason, Trinity Benson is a name that confuses me. I don't know how to feel about it.
It's the one Brad Holmes just won't let go of.
I just still think there's something there that we don't know about. DJ Chark is going to be a freak for us. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a superstar. In all honesty, you solidify the offensive line, you might not need the wide receiver that we think you need.
Yeah, I mean, obviously wide receiver is glamorous, and especially an offensive-driven league. My kind of mindset with it is you got DJ Chark on a one-year deal. He balls out. Hopefully you can extend him. But if Holmes doesn't want to pay the price of extending a veteran receiver, at least you have a rookie that steps in, and he's under contract for 4 or 5 years.
No, I hear you. I understand.
You know what? I love the Dallas Cowboy approach. Hate the Cowboys, but, it's exciting when you have 3 really good receivers. Plus, in the line situation, also Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. It's just fun to think about.
Well, no, that's really cool as long as you don't overpay a dog shit quarterback and a running back that doesn't run the ball.
We got golf for now. We'll see what happens.
I love their original approach when they made their offensive line the best in football.
Oh, I agree.
Then they lost that because they wanted to pay a running back that was only good because he ran behind them.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to pay a quarterback that's slightly above average, and honestly, maybe not even that.
Right.
The guy. If I was CeeDee Lamb, I wouldn't want to be in Dallas. I don't care the money you just gave me. I can't even. Granted, it cost me a bet. I just need him to get one more yard. I watched Dak Prescott that last game of the year literally just completely ignore CeeDee Lamb down the sideline like 13 times. It's terrible. And Amari Cooper. I don't know how you let a guy like that walk. I still lose my mind on that one, but I'll always be upset about that. But
Well, I think next week we'll talk more about the offensive side of the ball. I think that was a good overview of the defensive side of the ball and some of the prospects there. One thing we did talk about last week was a couple overtime proposals to change the format. Well, one did get voted on and did get passed. The NFL overtime in the postseason will now allow both teams to touch the ball. Whether you score a touchdown, field goal, don't score, the other team will get an opportunity. And then, let's say both teams score a touchdown, then it's do or die or sudden death. Next team to score wins. How do you feel about this, and how do you feel that it's only in the postseason?
Well, first of all, I will say Spencer was right with what they would do, so shout out to him. He's still wrong because they shouldn't have did this. I don't agree with it, but he was right, so shout out. I'm sure he'll message me later about that. He was mad I called him out, but no, he was right, but I don't agree with it. I understand it. I don't agree with it. I still don't like that, okay, they're going to touch the ball. Like, they didn't address, like, what if I drain the clock? What if I do this? What if I do that? I just, they're missing a golden opportunity to make it more fun for us. We sit down every Sunday when we're not at the Lions game. We watch the red zone. We watch all the scores. We don't miss a single one. Give me that college overtime style. Let them drive the ball up. Go into the offensive league. You're missing a golden chance to grab a little bit more money. It doesn't make sense to me. But I will say, beyond glad that I don't have to watch Josh Allen's season get over just because the Chiefs got the ball. The best team didn't win that game. Good for them. But, yeah, I'm still upset. I love Josh Allen. It was terrible that you don't get the ball to the best player on the field to go win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not super happy about the rule change either. I had actually really grown on the Tennessee proposal of, team gets the ball if they go for 2, or score and go for 2 and get it, it's over. If they don't go for 2, the other team gets the ball. or if they don't get the 2-point conversion, the other team gets the ball with a chance to score. I thought that was kind of an entertainment factor of, what will they do sort of thing. But I do understand this from a business perspective. Kind of like you said, Josh Allen didn't get to touch the ball in overtime. I think, for the second straight playoff game against Kansas City. Either way, it's been a topic the last couple of years. And I get it from a business perspective of the league. The quarterback is the most expensive guy on your team, especially the good teams with star quarterbacks. You're paying them the most money, and you have an overtime format that does not allow them to even touch the ball in some cases. So I get from a business perspective of the NFL and the owners of why they want both teams to get possession, especially in the postseason when trips to the Super Bowl are on the line. Again, I agree with you. I would have preferred a college-type format, though, to make it more entertaining, or like that Tennessee proposal, like I mentioned, I thought that had more entertainment value. I did not see, and I'll have to look it up, but I guess in postseason doesn't matter. I was going to say, did they add more time to the clock, but I guess in postseason there would be no ties, so they just go into another overtime. So scratch that.
But it's still, I get it. I understand it. I don't like it. I just think they missed a golden chance. That's it.
I agree with you. So that's NFL talk for the week, but we got a big day coming up in Detroit on Friday. The Tigers open up against the Chicago White Sox at 1:10 p.m. on Friday. Are you excited the Tigers are back? We missed them by a week due to the lockout, so they should have started last Friday. Good thing they didn't because of all the cold weather we've had.
Yeah, good thing for everybody but me. I got a wedding I got to go to on Friday. I was really excited. I was like, holy shit, I got opening day off.
Do you want to name drop who you're disappointed about? Or
no, that's fine. They know who they are if they listen. But, I'm going to have a great time there. I'm not worried about it. But I am upset. I even tried to figure out, if I go down there, can I get out of there by this time? And then you already know I'll go to extra innings and I'll just be a bad friend. So I'm not going to go, but I am really excited. I'm going to listen to it on the radio on my way there. I'm going to watch it. I'm pumped. I'm just excited to have baseball back. I'm excited to have, because the best part about baseball is they pretty much play every damn day, so you got something to watch. I'm excited. I love it. I think the Tigers are going to be good this year. I think they're going to surprise people. And I'm excited to have baseball back. Honestly, I was worried we weren't going to have it.
Yeah, I'm pumped for baseball. I've been kind of paying attention to the spring training, but it's kind of like preseason. It's like you pay attention, but it's kind of like, it doesn't really satisfy the taste I want. MLB The Show 22 just came out, so I've been playing that. I got the itch for baseball. I'm ready for this thing to start.
Although I am worried, did I miss our fantasy draft?
No, we got to schedule it this week.
Okay.
So we'll figure that out.
I know I got to join the league. I was like, you know what? Wait, shit, starts Friday. I need to draft a team.
Well, and actually for everyone out there, the season starts Thursday. The Tigers don't start till Friday. Opening day for the regular season kicks off with Yankees and Red Sox at 1:10 on Thursday.
He says everybody out there, but he's talking about me. So obviously I got to make sure I pay attention and make sure we do this draft here soon because I'm going to miss out on. I'm not good at paying attention with fantasy sports, that's for sure.
So, let's get into the Tigers a little bit. Obviously, they've had some big offseason additions. Eduardo Rodriguez, left-handed starting pitcher from the Red Sox. Javi Baez, obviously probably the most popular name, has come in. A couple other guys. Who in the starting rotation, doesn't have to be a new guy, can be one of the young guns. Who excites you the most to watch, and who do you think kind of will have the biggest jump in the starting pitching rotation this season?
Well, Casey Mize.
The Heat Miser.
Still, it's Casey Mize. I'm excited. I think he's going to make a big, big jump. It's the pitchers is weird. You got to remember when Justin Verlander first scratched the surface, he was good, and then all of a sudden he was fucking great. So you never know when it's going to click for those guys. Baseball is one of those weird things. It's all about controlling the ball when you're a pitcher. Whether you throw it 100 or you throw it 70, if you can put it in the right spot, they can't hit it. And really, more than that, they can hit it, but they're going to hit it where you want them to hit it. So I'm really excited to see Casey Mize. I think he's going to make some big strides. I like Eduardo. I'm excited to see that, especially a guy coming in here and just becoming the ace right away. Says a lot about what they think about him. And I think he's going to play much better than he did last year with the Red Sox.
And you add a lethal lefty. Matt Boyd was a lefty too, but he had kind of been, inconsistent over the last couple of years. Tyreek Skubal, obviously, he's the guy I'm most excited for. He's a lefty with a lot of velocity on his pitches. Very excited to see what he can do. But kind of like you with Eduardo Rodriguez, especially because He struggled a little bit last year. He had a 4.74 ERA, only 185 strikeouts. Not terrible, nothing spectacular. It was kind of an off year for him because in 2019 he had a 3.81 ERA with 213 strikeouts. More of an ace level type stat line, and I think that's what the Tigers are banking on. I forgot what the exact stat was, but they said Eduardo Rodriguez had some sort of stat where he had the worst luck on ground balls being hit in the base hits instead of ground outs. So he was forcing a lot of grounders. They were just making it through the holes in the defense. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they really are banking on and bet on him getting back to that form from 2018, 2019, where his ERAs were in the 3.8s.
Well, and I think I might be talking out of my ass, but I do that a lot. I think he has a better infield now with the Tigers.
I agree.
I think Javier Baez is obviously a lethal shortstop.
He's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball.
I think Torkelson, I'm excited to see him, but he's a young guy. At least he's going to be hungry at first base. I think the Candyman's got it going on. Shoop is at second. I think they have a really good infield, a young, hungry infield. I don't think that those ground balls are going to be a problem.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think it's an improved defense, and we'll see what happens, obviously. Someone in the lineup that really sparks your interest. I know Torkelson got confirmed yesterday that he is going to be on the opening day roster. Unfortunately, Riley Green, if you have not heard, broke his foot off a foul ball on a game against the Yankees. Tripled off that at bat, so that was pretty impressive, but really the only positive you can take out of that. He's likely going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. We'll likely have a little rehab stint with AAA, and then we expect him to join the Tigers at some point in the summer. Hopefully he can target around June.
Right around that time where they're also going in, do we buy in? Do we get somebody at the trade deadline? Maybe You're getting 2 fresh bodies,
Yeah. So is someone that stands out to you that you're super excited to see? I know Torkelson's a good answer for everyone.
Yeah, well, I think Torkelson's probably my answer. While you were talking, I was checking to see if I could see some stats real quick. And I hit Facebook, and literally I was watching Torkelson just bomb a home run today. Just absolutely demolished the baseball. I don't think people really give enough credit. I used to remember this stat a little bit better when we first drafted him. But Torkelson holds I'm pretty sure he holds the record for most home runs in college baseball.
I think I heard that too.
Yeah, and, one of our old alumni buddies, Jim Costa, I think he's on 97.1 now.
He is.
I remember him putting the stats out there because he was huge on Torkelson before they drafted him. Torkelson had the most home runs in college baseball history, and he's doing it. He did it in an era where you don't hit that many home runs in college baseball anymore. The guy is a pure power hitter. He is a phenomenal bat, and I'm really excited, and I think it goes a lot to say that he's got Miggy's blessing already. Miggy's finally accepted his DH role because he's so excited to see Torkelson on the field. That says a lot to me. I mean, I know Miggy's getting older and he's starting to understand it a little bit more, but Miggy's always been, I want to be on the field, but you're telling me that all of a sudden now you got this Torkelson guy, and he's just like, you know what, I'm happy to be a DH because Torkelson's there. I haven't seen Miggy excited about a guy like this since Avisail Garcia. Obviously, Garcia broke our hearts and was a scumbag, but that's, neither here nor there. But he still was a very high potential guy. Torkelson's going to be much better. I'm obviously going to talk about it in a little bit when we talk about the Rookie of the Year side of things. But I'm excited for him. And I'm really excited. I'm sorry to keep going, but I'm really excited for Baddoo. I talked about it last week. I love Baddoo. He's so fast. He's fun. He's got a weird power. You don't really know what's coming. I think I saw it today. I think he hit 13 home runs last year. He's not really a kind of build or a kind of guy you look at and be like, 13 home runs. But 13 home runs when you play at Comerica Park most of the time is a big fucking deal. The guy's got a weird amount of power. He's got a ridiculous amount of speed, and he's got a good glove. I love Akil Baddoo.
He's a lethal leadoff guy, and I was really getting excited for having an outfield of Baddoo, Green, and Grossman. Unfortunately, the Green part is going to have to wait. It's probably going to be a platoon of Victor Reyes. Eric Haas, the backup catcher, can also play first base and outfield, so I'd expect to see him out there.
Yeah, but Reyes in center field while Baddoo's in left. I don't hate that at all.
Oh, Reyes is a great defensive outfielder.
Yeah, you lose a little on the bat, yeah, for sure. But I love our defensive setup. I think we have way better defense than we probably give us credit for. And, if the pitching's decent. And
the potential's definitely there. And another name in the outfield to watch is Derek Hill. Super speedy center fielder. Great defensively. Batting's been a little inconsistent. He's young. He's dealing with an injury right now, so he may not be ready for opening day as well. But that's a guy should only be out short term, so he's a name to watch before Green gets back as well. You might see a Hill Reyes kind of platoon throughout the week, and I'll go with you. I think I'm so excited to see Torkelson play. It was he was
you don't want to pick him because you want to talk about the other guys, and everybody's gonna say him. But it's hard not
to. He's the shiny toy.
He's exciting.
If you would have gone Torkelson and Riley Green was going to be up, okay, I would have gone Riley Green. I was so excited to see both of them play. Obviously, we'll get into Green when he gets closer to coming back. Just a tough break for the kid because he'd been killing spring training unbelievably. But yeah, Torkelson, I think the power, he's going to start off probably 6th or 7th in the lineup. Would not surprise me if he quickly moves up because his bat is that effective. And then I guess for just to put out another name, obviously I'm excited to see Javi Baez. We have not had an offensive, productive shortstop since Carlos Guillen probably. Iglesias had that one decent year from the bat.
He had a couple spurts.
But Iglesias more the defensive, whiz. But yeah, super excited.
Man, I miss Carlos Guillen.
I know. I don't know if he was ever the age he said he was. I think he was probably 10 years older than whatever his birth certificate said.
Yeah.
That guy never looked young. But he was a solid guy. Anyway, and then lastly, is there anyone in the bullpen you're watching? Are you excited for Gregory Soto? Another shot at the closer?
I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I told you before. I'm not as good with the names right now. I gotta relearn all this shit. But I will say that I am very excited for Gregory Soto. I'm excited with how committed AJ Hinch is that he's the closer. I think that's a big deal. Obviously. If you watch Tigers baseball, we always have a really, really weird comfort and lack of comfort with any closer we've ever had.
Todd Jones kind of mentally scarred us.
But it started with Todd Jones, but it never got better.
Well, that's what I mean.
Remember Papa Verde? The guy went 49-49.
Had a perfect season.
You thought you were going to lose every fucking save, though.
Right.
There wasn't a single save that Papa Verde made where you're like, oh, we got this. Right. No, you got 3 guys on you got fucking 2 guys on second and third. And there's 1 out with, a 3-0 count, and then all of a sudden he strikes out the side. So, I am really excited for Gregory Soto. I think the biggest thing with closer is the confidence. AJ Hinch is giving him the confidence. He trusts him. He's giving him the keys to the kingdom. I think Soto's going to have a really good year. But you know what I love about AJ Hinch is his knowledge of baseball. I referenced Jim Costa again. Because he mentioned it, and one of the things he was saying was...
He's great for random stats on all the Detroit
he's just
teams.
Really... he's a very knowledgeable guy. He basically said, somebody said something about, AJ Hinch said, he is my starter, but you might see him in the 6th inning, you never know.
Right.
And that's because AJ Hinch is smart. AJ Hinch is a new age, think outside the box, get stuff done manager. Gregory Soto is the guy you expect to come in and close things down. You might need that in the 6th inning. You might need it in the 9th inning. That's what I like. I like AJ Hinch being available to do different things. But I love his commitment to Soto.
Well, and here's a perfect example. Several times last year with Soto, or whoever the closer was at the time, because Fulmer had his fair share of saves too. There were multiple times last year where in the 8th inning, the opposing team had their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th guy up, the meat of the lineup, the best guys. And he said, okay, Soto or Fulmer, you're going out in the 8th inning, and we'll bring our setup guy to close in the 9th because they're going against, the 6, 7, 8 or the 5, 6, 7. The guy, everyone's good in the league. But
not checkers.
Right, exactly. So, and like you said, I think for the bullpen, my guy, I'm super excited about Gregory Soto. I've been saying it for a couple of years now. He reminds me a lot of Ed Rolis Chapman from the Yankees and Cubs, whoever you remember him from, probably most notably the Yankees. Guy can hit 102 on his fastball. Soto has very similar velocity. He's got that same violent pitching motion. So I'm very excited for Soto. Andrew Chafin, the guy they acquired from the Cubs, I think.
I'm so glad you said somebody else because I was going to be so mad if I just stole it all away.
Well, and I'll show you a picture of Andrew Chafin after we're done recording here. He kind of has the Todd Jones bar handle mustache going.
Well, I only know one Chafin, and I know that guy's a weirdo, so I got to imagine.
So anyway, he came from the Cubs where he had a 1.8 .3 ERA last season, had 64 strikeouts and 67 or 72, something odd innings. So very efficient his time of work, had an opposing average of like .186. So really was a shutdown guy. Expect him to probably be the setup guy this year. Not really sure where Michael Fulmer is going to be in the bullpen this year. I've heard rumors that they want to use him again more as a long-term reliever, kind of back to his starting roots. I know Fulmer said he would like to get back into the starting rotation at some point. Don't know if it's in the cards for him anymore. He was very effective as a closer and a setup guy last year. He might be the guy that is the closer when Soto pitched the night before and needs a rest. Could be the seventh inning guy to Chafin's eighth inning, and then Soto's ninth. There's a lot of ways, and I trust Hinch wholeheartedly to use him in the way he thinks is best for the team.
Well, and I think Fulmer is a Swiss Army knife, like you said. If you really need him to come and start a game, he can give you 5-6 innings, maybe 6, definitely 5. You need him to pitch 3 innings, he can do that. You need him to pitch 2, sure. 1, 2 guys, he can handle it. I think the best thing that happened for Fulmer and why I wouldn't hate if he got into a starting role again is becoming a closer, being a Senate band, being long relief. He's definitely learned, and he's done well. I mean, he's done well at all of those. He's definitely learned when to turn it on, how to not turn it on, how to save yourself a little bit. You can't go out there throw 102 every pitch if you got to pitch 3 innings. I think that kind of control will really translate over as a starter if he gets to that point. I just think that I think we have the starting lineup in rotation where he doesn't need to get back there.
Yeah, and Fulmer's going to probably have an opportunity if it's given to him in terms of, the starting rotation. You got 3 really solid guys. You got Eduardo Rodriguez, Casey Mize, and Tyreek Skubal. Your 4th and 5th guy are Michael Pineda from the Twins and Matt Manning, the young prospect from the Tigers, or from the minors that got some time last year. He's going to probably get a full time this year. You got Tyler Alexander, who factors in as the 6th man if injuries happen. But if you see more than 1 or 2 injuries, Michael Fulmer might be that next guy where they say, hey, Michael, we need you to at least be a 4-inning starter. We need some innings out of you to start the game. And, if he excels with that, like he did back in 2016 and 2017 before he dealt with injuries for a couple of years, you never know. He might be thrown back in there. And, we've seen the potential. We've seen the upside Michael Fulmer can bring as a starter as well as being a bullpen guy, as we just talked about. So it's more of the consistency for Fulmer. He hasn't been able to quite be consistently that guy in one role or the other. So hopefully he can find that consistency in one of these roles and be a big piece for the Tigers moving forward. What's your ceiling for the Tigers? Do you have like USA Today had them projected to finish at 80 and 82. They finished 77 and 85 last year. I feel like a 3-game jump is a little underwhelming as a prediction, especially with the additions they've had this offseason. Mm-hmm. What's your final record prediction for them if you have one, or what's the ceiling for the team? Do you think they compete for a wild card or division?
Definitely by the end of this podcast, I think everybody will realize that I drink more Kool-Aid than just Honolulu Blue. I don't know what color, but it's blue.
We'll just call it blue and orange.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know what blue they are. So.
Well, just blue in general with a little bit of Red Wings. But anyways, I think they're going to win the division. I was looking at it as terrible as I felt they were last year. I was looking at it. They won 77 games. And
the A.J. Hinch effect.
The White Sox won 93. It's hard for me to believe that USA Today only had them at 80 wins. You had Javier Baez, you had Eduardo Rodriguez, you bring Torkelson up, who is a huge, highly rated top 5 prospect. I don't know how that only equates to adding 3 wins. They didn't lose. I don't think they lost. Would they lose?
The Tigers did not lose much. They
so
really gained.
They only got better.
They lost Matt Boyd.
Javier Baez alone brings way more than 3 wins. I think you're looking at. There's stats for that because it's baseball. You got stats for everything.
Yeah, you got your WAR and stuff.
But I'm sure there's probably 10 in there. But I think that all the Tigers are very capable, and I think they will win the division. I think it's a little bit crazy to say, but really, if you take away that stretch that they had at the beginning of the year, where they were just easily the worst.
They started
team.
like 9-24.
I think,
and then we're 500.
I remember them.
Above 500.
It was dog shit, and they almost got back to 500. I think they finished like 475. I think that the Tigers are going to win the division. I really do. And like you said, the A.J. Hinch effect. I mean, A.J. Hinch did a lot of things for that team and made them really a lot better. I mean, the biggest thing that sticks out with me with A.J. Hinch is they swept the Astros in the first series, and they swept the Astros when they were playing dog shit baseball. But they swept the Astros because they did it for Hinch. That's a big deal. I think I said it last week, I'm pretty sure. I think Cabrera is going to have a really nice bounce back here because when baseball's fun, Cabrera thrives. I think you're going to see a pretty crazy year for the Tigers. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I think that's going to equate to a lot of baseball games.
I think the Tigers will probably compete for the wild card. I'm not ready to say they're better than the White Sox yet. I think the White Sox are pretty loaded at the top of the division. I do think it'll be a two-horse race for second place in the AL Central. I really think it's going to come down to Detroit and Minnesota. I do like the Tigers a little more. I think their team's a little more well-rounded. I think their pitching in the bullpen and rotation are better than the Twins have. Obviously, the Twins did get Carlos Correa, so they did add to their offense a little bit there. But it would not surprise me if the Tigers are close to the White Sox. I just don't think. I think they're another year out from surpassing the White Sox, who are a pretty loaded team. I do think the Tigers will be somewhere in the 87 to 90 win range. I know that's probably a little bit above some people's expectations, but I really think if Hinch can get out of the group what he got out of them last year, I can't imagine they only improve by 3 or 4 wins to get to 81 and 81 or 80 and 82, things like that from 77 wins the year before. So I'm a little more high on them probably than some others, but I could see a wild card game. Maybe they win a wild card game, but I think they could get a wild card berth, and I think 2023 is really when they're going to take off.
Hopefully they spend a little bit more money to assist that too.
So kind of finish out the Tigers talk really quick. Do you think Torkelson's going to have the same effect as like Cade had with the Pistons this year, or Mo and Raymond had with the Red Bulls?
Absolutely, yeah, not a doubt. I think you're going to see that. I think Torkelson is everything as advertised. I think he's more than advertised. I think it does kind of suck he's going to play in Comerica Park because he does have a lot of power. But
hey, if he crushes it, then
the truth of it is when he hits it, he hits it. So I don't think he's going to have a hard time at Comerica. I don't think he's going to have a lot of flyouts. I think he's going to have a lot of home runs. I think he's going to hit for an average. And if Miggy wants to see him play, really wants to see him play, Torkelson's at that age where he grew up watching Miggy in his prime. And I'm not sure where Torkelson's from, but everybody watched Miggy.
Well, he played the same positions as Miggy. Started off as a third baseman and will be a first baseman.
But you know what I mean? Like, Miggy had that stretch where he was the dominant name in baseball. Right. Obviously, definitely for Tigers fans, but all over.
Most recent Triple Crown win.
He definitely watched him win a Triple Crown. Miggy definitely going to take him under his wing and show him how to hit the baseball. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Torkelson starts to get these opposite power home runs Miggy has.
Well, the nice thing about Torkelson is he's in a well-protected lineup. Like, he's going to be well-protected in that lineup in terms of you got Scope around him, who had a phenomenal year last year. Javi Baez comes in. Like you said, if Miggy can be solid, that's a nice protection there. Baду, Grossman. So, there's going to be protection in that lineup to help him excel moving forward. But I'm excited for Tigers baseball. You're excited for Tigers baseball. This thing's about to get underway. And really, I think I'll kind of segment into your Motor City Minute. I think the Tigers are the first of the Detroit teams to really hit the rails running in terms of going up for success. But I think every team is close behind, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, well, my Motor City Minute is going to be basically Detroit sports. Like, I don't know, smile about it. I think, obviously we're a Lions podcast, and, hopefully eventually that I get you guys around the idea the Lions are going to be good, and then hopefully it backs it up in the fall. But the truth is that everybody's on the up and up. There was a while there where Detroit sports was just fucking brutal for all of us. Whether you like basketball, baseball, hockey, football, or you like them all, you don't like any of them. It's been fucking brutal. It really has. It's been hard. Like, we went through our own pandemic here in Detroit, and that was winning sports games.
Yeah.
And the truth is it's all changing. It really is. I mean, I wish we could reference the Lions guy that's going to turn it around at that number 2 pick, but probably Tibbs.
In another month.
And then Torkelson, Riley Green, but, he's hurt, but he'll be there in a month or two. Cade Cunningham, man, I almost wanted to spend a whole nother Motor City minute on talking about Cade Cunningham because I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but since I talked about him for Rookie of the Year, he's just been way fucking better. The guy had 32 points the other night, like, crazy. And you know, he started, I think he only had like 2 points in the first quarter. I was like, fuck, he's doing nothing tonight. And then all of a sudden he's got 32. And Cade Cunningham led the Pistons to beat the 76ers at full strength.
He
The
put him
Sixers.
away, too. Like, it was close and all of a sudden just gone.
He killed them. And, I mean, Sadiq Bey had a lot to do with it, but that's a positive thing. And then I went to the Red Wings game and I watched Mo. I mean, Cedar is the fucking man. Raymond scored again the other night. These guys are young. They're fun. Every single team's got them. The Lions have them, too. You just don't buy it yet. The truth is Detroit sports is on the up. Give it 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a team in the playoffs in every single league. I think you're looking at, I'll try to be not too optimistic, but I would say you're going to have a top half of the league for every single team we have. Top 15, top 10 in some cases. But I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see playoff teams are really on the verge of playoff teams in every single one of our leagues. And like you said, I think the Tigers are the first ones to do it. I think they do it this year. And I think we're going to have a Detroit sports team in the playoffs in at least 2 of our leagues moving forward for at least the next 5 years.
Yeah, the nucleus is definitely there. And like you said, it was very dark times in Detroit. Everyone was bad at the same time for multiple years, and it really sucked. Especially, you know, me and you growing up, you know, when we were, 8, 9, 10, even into like 12, 13, 14, Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers were all pretty damn good, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it was fun.
Not
and,
only that,
the Lions struggled a little bit, but we had Kelvin Johnson at least to watch.
I talk about it all the time. So my Pistons example is, bro, we saw the going to work Pistons.
That's right.
I mean, it was as game changing as the Bad Boys was, but this time because they were winning and they didn't have that elite talent. You know, they were. Don't get me wrong, Isaiah Thomas was elite talent for the Bad Boys, but whatever.
Right.
But then, on top of it, I never watched the Red Wings during the regular season growing up. Because I was so busy with all the other sports. It comes in the same time. The Pistons were good, they were playing, and I knew they were in the playoffs. I'll watch playoff hockey, which is way better anyways. I took it for granted. I'll never do it again. I cannot wait to see playoff hockey. I already know that the LCA, while it will never be the Joe, LCA is going to be so much fucking fun when they get a playoff series there.
Well, we're 26, 25. We were born into that 25-year playoff streak or whatever it was. So we had playoff hockey our whole life until we were about 22 years old.
I didn't believe it when they were in the playoffs.
Right. So, and, that was the fun back in the day. You had Lidstrom, Datsuk, Zetterberg. I mean, it was stacked.
It's just like me. I can never imagine Michigan State not making the NCAA tournament.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's crazy. So these dark days, they're finally coming to an end. The light's at the end of the tunnel. And hopefully we can restore those days from our childhood and have the Lions be a very competitive team as well. I'll get into my Motor City Minute a little bit, and mine has to revolve around Killian Hayes, who I've been pretty critical of. He was taken with the 7th overall pick last year, struggled a little bit as a rookie, struggling again. And, I'm usually a guy to preach patience with a player because especially in the NBA, these guys are getting drafted super early and put right in the league. It's not like baseball and hockey where these guys get drafted at a super young age, but they go through the minors and sometimes stay in school for a couple of years and then they're brought up eventually when they're 22, 23, 24, kind of like guys that get drafted in the NFL when they're more ready to play and things like that. Well, with Killian Hayes, I had kind of put him to rest because I didn't like his shooting motion. I didn't think he could survive in this league because he wasn't shooting well. Well, the work is paying off for him because I know he talked about how he tweaked his shot going into this season. He has always been able to read the floor, very good at posting assists, reading the floor and getting guys in the right spot to make shots. But it was more him not making the shots that I was critical of because in the NBA, you got to be able to shoot. You got to knock down open shots. Well, Killian Hayes, I think to me, is becoming the clear sixth man of the Pistons. I don't think he's a starting rotation guy. I think he's a good guy to come off the bench. But he's been running the offense pretty smoothly off the bench as of late. His last game was crazy. Cade and Bey went out with injuries early in the game. Killian Hayes finished the game with 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. I mean, nearly had a goddamn triple-double. And that's coming off games where he had 10 points in 26 minutes, 13 points in 33 minutes, on 6 for 10 shooting, 5 for 8 shooting for the 10-point game. So you're seeing him develop into a more reliable shooter. He's making more shots consistently. It's not these wild stats where he had 12 points on 4 for 18 shooting nights and things like that. He's starting to quarterback the Pistons offense very well. He's always been a pretty solid defender in my mind. But I think the Killian Hayes doubters got to give this guy another chance. I think especially going into the next year, the Pistons are going to be a damn good team after they get another top draft pick, get a Tier 1 or Tier 2 free agent with the money they have available, matching them with Cade and Bay and Beef Stew and Bagley. Give Killian Hayes at least one more year to prove that he can be a six-man and a dominant six-man for the Pistons in the NBA.
Well, I don't agree with it as a six-man, although maybe. I think that Marvin Bagley is more of a six-man, but that's just the way their rotation is now. But I do agree that he's that sixth, seventh man. I do agree that he's a big tool. I think he's a great off the bench. He's one of the guys that I see as like one of the most improved of late. I remember we were just talking a couple months ago about hang this guy, you know. But now we're all for him. Another guy that comes to my mind is Isaiah Livers. I like what he's doing a lot lately. The Pistons are starting to develop that, not necessarily that nucleus, but they're starting to develop the outside. They're starting to develop those extra guys that are going to come off the bench. You can see it, especially I think the 76ers are a good example. The 76ers bench almost gets outscored by every fucking team they play. And you can see it's starting to be a problem for them. Mm-hmm. And they have the best lineup in basketball as far as talent goes. Yeah. The problem is they want to play them together. They don't want to separate them too much. And when they do, they're playing with guys that aren't doing it. And that's a problem. The NBA, especially now, while I do think Cade Cunningham is going to be a top 5 and an NBA superstar at some point, I really do. I don't know if you agree with that high rating. But I do think he's that guy, and I think you saw that in the Sixers game, the way he closed them out, because that's an intimidating team to play against. But I do think he's that good, but what comes to matter in the NBA is the bench. And Killian Hayes is one of those guys that I want to see stick around to be on that bench. I don't think he'll ever graze the starter role. I think he's proven that he's definitely, if he starts making his shots, gets a little more comfortable doing that, he's going to start making more shots. I like him a lot there. I love what the Pistons are doing. I was just talking to my neighbor today about it. I think the Marvin Bagley addition was just like they struck gold because he's just like nowhere near what Marvin Bagley was.
Yeah, and the only reason I didn't know him as a sixth man is because I think next year Marvin Bagley
will be the starter. No, I agree. And I'm excited to see. I really wish we could fast forward to the Pistons draft. I'm excited to see who they pair up with Cade. But it all comes from the bench too, and I like Killian Hayes on that bench. I'm really excited to see them moving forward. I do hope they trade Jeremy Grant. I really do. I hope they trade him for the right price, and because I just don't think he fits with this team. I really don't. He's too inconsistent of a scorer, and
no, I agree.
I think they can get way too much for him. I don't think he's valued at what he is, but there's definitely some teams that'll overpay for a guy that can just go off for 20, 25 out of nowhere.
Yeah, and we'll recap the Pistons in a couple weeks when their season comes to an end. Oh, dude, I'm so excited for the Pistons next year. So I don't blame
I'm beyond excited for all these teams. That's what my minute was about. I'm really excited. You know, that really, in all honesty, the only team that, people doubt me on are the Lions, but everybody else, they have that, young superstar. And just wait, as soon as we draft...
Well, I know it's your number one mission to prove everyone wrong about the Lions.
Well, so. I don't have to because they're going to do it. Dan Campbell's the man. I just don't know. But you know what? I'll prove you wrong right now. Let's get into Barrick's Banter so we can wrap this up.
Love it.
Okay, so Barrick's Banter this week is it's a little tough because they haven't done much. But you know what? I'm actually going to take an interesting approach. I'm going to talk about the ownership. So... everybody, sell the team. No. That's obviously not going to happen because you're talking about one of the most profitable franchises in football. It's just the way it is because you guys keep buying everything. So do I. So, what does that mean? Well, Sheila has proven that she's not. Listen, honestly, if you go back, the Fords were... Bill Ford Sr. didn't give a fuck about winning football games. He only cared about money. which you can't really fault the guy for. That's fine.
Sucks for us, though.
Yeah, it sucks, but I get it. I'd like making money too. I just don't make that kind of money. So then when he died, his wife Martha took over. And while Martha made the wrong choice, she didn't completely make the wrong choice. She hired the wrong GM. They hired the wrong coach. I like Rod Wood.
Rodwood's fine. I mean,
I love that hire. She got that guy.
As long as he's in a business role, I really don't care.
And that's what he's doing. And obviously he's doing something right.
He got us the draft.
He got us Hard Knocks. Then you move forward. Sheila's now running the show. She came in. She put her guy in. She's very involved. I get the whole Calvin stuff. I wish that would be over just like you. I'd love Calvin to be around. But more importantly, I wish we would stop booing Sheila Hamp. She dropped the Ford. She doesn't want the Ford because she wants to prove that she's different. And that's embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing that you as Lions fans have to be so blind that she has to drop her last name so you might think she's different. This lady is clearly trying. She's always around. Martha, when Patricia and Quinn were first introduced, was around, and that was it. Sheila is at everything with these guys. She goes everywhere. She's trying to be involved in everything, but not to be involved, but to support. She's supporting. She wants the Lions to win football games because she cannot wait to deliver that to you. That's why you need to be excited. You may have a Ford family member in charge, but you have the right one. That's it. That's what it comes to. They don't like their name being associated with losing. That was a Bill Ford Sr. thing. That was a generational thing. This is Sheila Hamp Ford. She's trying to turn it around. She wants it not as much as me, but more than you. And so I promise you she's going to keep doing everything she can. She obviously loves Dan Campbell. She definitely supports Dan Campbell. She supports Brad Holmes. What more do you want from ownership? This isn't baseball. She can't go above the luxury tax to go sign a bunch of people. The money that she's paying for these players, it's capped. It's just like everybody else. But you know what? In my opinion, if there was baseball, she would go out and pay that extra money. She'd pay the salary or the extended cap because she wants to deliver you the right team. I 100% believe it. That's why the Lions are going to be good. You're going to see a huge improvement this year. I think they're going to sneak into the playoffs. I think I'll be able to sell you on it after we do our draft. I do think we're going to draft Thibodeau. I'm excited for the Lions moving forward, and I hope you are too.
Hey, and you can catch it on YouTube. Sheila had about a 3-minute and some odd change interview with Lions reporter. I think her name's Danny Rogers. And she talked about kind of like what he was saying. She loves being involved, but it's not to interject or tell Holmes and Campbell what to do. She just wants to know what they're doing, and she supports them. She does not intervene. And I thought it was a really good sit-down interview, kind of just explaining what she sees with the team, how they're trusting the process that Holmes has come up with Campbell, and how they're seeing that out, and they got to stick to the process for this thing to work right. Listen, there's one thing that we have been praying for forever now with the Lions is that they do a rebuild and they do it right. Well, they're doing it right, so let's stop jumping the gun and complaining that they haven't signed big names and things like that, because that's not where they are in the process right now.
But they did. They signed DJ Chark as a bigger name.
Well, DJ Chark, I'm talking like long-term
contracts.
No,
I know. I agree.
Things like that.
Well, look at how Trey Flowers worked out. That was jumping the gun, and that was the worst decision we ever made.
You made several coaching changes without doing a rebuild, and it didn't really lead to anything. We had a Super Bowl quarterback on the roster and couldn't get a playoff win because this thing wasn't built right. We're building it right now. You got to give it a little bit of time. I know Lions fans hate hearing time, but just you got to give it some time because you can't rebuild in 1 year. It's going to take a couple of years. That's just where we're at right now, whether you like it or not. So, but I think that was a excellent third episode. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff. Super excited for the Lions draft coming up. Super excited for the Tigers. Remember, you can subscribe to us on YouTube to get alerted when our podcasts drop. You can follow us on Spotify as well. We're on Spotify now. You can follow us on Podbean. That's where our podcasts get uploaded to. We should be hearing back from Apple soon. So once we're on Apple, obviously we'll let you guys know as well. Again, follow our Facebook page, Calm Before the Roar. We post almost every day things that you can get involved in and talk about. We want to get discussions going on that page. We want to bring what your opinions onto the show so we can read them off. You know, Spencer being a perfect example of that, talked with us about some overtime rules last week. So eventually we want to get into live shows, and that way you can interact as we're talking, and we can kind of bring your opinions in live as we're going on. So it was another fun one. We're looking forward to Tigers baseball on Friday. Can't wait for episode 4 to talk about opening weekend, as well as more Lions talk. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate the support, and we'll be back soon.